down Cloud9's victory.
Thank you, Riv, out here after that game 1 pickup there for Cloud9. But where I want to start is actually with TSM, because I want to go with what their game plan was, which looked really solid to start out. They put a lot of focus mid to sway that matchup in the mid lane that a lot of people were saying this series would hinge on.
Yeah, and honestly, TSM did a good job of that. Hey, look, a very early gank, the trio lane of Dyrus and Santorin and Lustboy, they roam mid, they trade flash for flash, they get down to bot lane in time to absorb the wave, like very smart things by these guys. And of course, as the casters mentioned, they come back in time before the flash is back up. First blood on Urgot, push the top lane turret down. And this comp works so well off of snowballing the 2 big TSM members. Bjergsen gets ahead. Wild Turtle gets a strong early game champion who can knock down turrets. And if you siege up on a turret, you have to respect Charm at all times, you have to respect Bubble at all times, and Jinx does all the heavy lifting on turret kills, and all these things work very well for TSM.
Yeah, and you have to keep that Urgot down too, because it's a quadra-tank composition from Cloud9. They banned out the Janna and went for hard engage, so keeping that Urgot down is imperative, because if that Urgot gets up, he rushes the Frozen Heart, and it keeps Wild Turtle's damage down too.
Yeah, and what was very interesting, you talk about the bans coming out here. There's actually a couple of points I noticed Lustboy not used to playing Nami in this kind of a matchup, right? Hard engaged team versus disengaged team. The big climactic Baron fight, there was an opening to tidal wave the team and disengage. When they put the chompers down, the team goes around it. They're funneling through a very small choke. That tidal wave stops the team fight guaranteed. But it doesn't come out because he's not used to the matchup. He's not used to having to tidal wave early to disengage. And so, right, the rest of Cena actually gets in on that fight. Like, those are things that are really important, where TSM's not ready for this level of pressure on their compositions.
Yeah, continuing down the line of the early game for TSM, too, we have to look at the fact that their pressure in lanes was pretty phenomenal, right?
Yes.
They were taking things off of Dyrus getting camped, which is great. If you're trading 1 death for a turret every time, fantastic. And their wave manipulation was actually pretty phenomenal in the early parts of the game. So takeaways here for TSM, fantastic there. I want to look at how it fell apart, though.
Yes. Stop grouping up against the teamfight comp, because that comp only has Sivir for wave clear and a little bit of Maokai. You have multiple wave clear champions, Gragas, Lulu, Jinx, Ahri. All 4 champions that can like range wave clear very effectively. Split push, don't let that composition group up, because they work best when they group up. If you group up against a quadra tank comp that has a Maokai in it too, he just reduces everybody's damage taken, and it's impossible to knock them down. They just barrel and face roll that team fight. So stop grouping up, keep pushing objectives and forcing things, and they had lapses in vision, and that was the big thing too, is they should have so much vision that they can go between lanes. They lost that vision, and when you lose vision against a hard engage comp, they can camp an objective, and you have to face check him, and they get to force the fight.
But that's the big difficulty here, is even if Bjergsen's off on the side split pushing, obviously it can't be Jinx split pushing, no escapes, right? That's the obvious choice here. Even if Bjergsen's the one split pushing because he's actually got pressure in the lane, problem is, you've got 4 tanks. You've got a Sivir and an Urgot and a Maokai and a whole bunch of freaking dive. Like, good luck 4v5ing under turret. You put the Braum shield up and your wave clear's gone. Like, the actual Braum pickup prevents a lot of choices that TSM could have made, because they can no longer wave clear as long as you can survive 3 Jinx rockets, and then you just hard dive them under the turret. Bjergsen can't show up, and if Lulu is the one split pushing on the side, well, C9 put a whole bunch of pressure in getting balls ahead of Dyrus in that top lane. Now that pressure bought TSM 3 turrets. It bought them an extra dragon as well. It almost lost C9 the game, but because they didn't lose the game, and Maokai was doing well, and went Rod of Ages because then he has wave clear and kill pressure in this matchup instead of Righteous Glory for the team fight, because they've got Sivir anyway. A lot of these things just click together, and suddenly C9 gets to stifle all the options.
But that's the thing, is you don't 4-1, you 1-3-1, or you 2-2-1 and leave the self-sufficient Ahri by herself.
And even still, though, it just becomes difficult. And I'm not saying it's necessarily wrong,
you have to disengage correctly.
Can Ahri outrace Sivir when the team fight does happen into your turret? Because the 5v3 will kill your team under the turret and will kill your turret afterwards. And so you have a very short clock to where if before C9 dives, we better get something to happen.
Yeah,
and
that
C9
is forced
difficult to do.
All right, well, things TSM could have done differently. Now let's transition over to Cloud9's side. And you had mentioned the vision play and forcing TSM into a scenario in which they had to come into an objective not knowing, right, what they were walking into, setting up that team fight pretty well. I do want to bring up our first replay, and this is blowing up on Twitter right now. Hashtag LCS big plays here.
Oh, yeah.
26 minutes into the game, ends up being a 4-for-1 plus a Baron. Zyrene, take it away.
They get the vision here, and then they try to disengage, but Meteos, he flashes forward with the Q, and he basically animation cancels his ultimate. You have no reaction time at point blank with that going on. So that's what sets it up. And it hits all 5 members of TSM because they cluster against this team composition. The Righteous Glory is actually popped a little early, and then the Sivir ultimate, it's like, oh, do we want to go? They have to walk around Flame Choppers, and that's where you Tidal Wave, is across that. But you see, Braum actually doesn't even get to Unbreakable because he gets Q'd. So it would have been a perfect Tidal Wave disengage that would have allowed them to get out of the Meteos ultimate in time to actually react to this team fight and kite backwards. But at this point in the game, Wild Turtle doesn't have the damage, and the Glacial Fissure comes across him, so he's not able to reposition, and Sneaky just gets free pop shots on him at that point.
Yeah, right. Sivir's actually really good in AoE comps like this. It's very hard to deal a lot of damage as an AD carry like Sivir. I usually call her in cast a low damage AD carry for the utility because your range is low, you're often under threat, kiting's pretty hard on her, she doesn't always run very fast. But if your team has all the offensive tools, Ricochet and Boomerang Blade are 2 of the best AD carry steroids in the game. You're going to do actually more damage than Jinx Rockets will in a fight this grouped up and this safe for Sivir. Sneaky, unsurprisingly, highest damage dealt champions in the game in that one because it's a field day for Sivir to kill everyone.
Yeah, and I mean, everybody on your team is a tank, and they're trying to get through that front line to you. And the fact that it's a Braum kind of compensates for the Sivir range disadvantage because he can just absorb and allow her to stand right behind him.
So I have to say, at the end of this game, my big takeaways are that I loved C9's composition. I loved the way they built it and the way they intended to play it. What worries me, though, is the fact that they did get behind early. And without that incredible 5-man ult there engaged around the Baron Pit, they may not have been able to get back into it because TSM was starting to pick up steam. We saw them, as you mentioned, rotate in order to manipulate waves, rotate, take them down quickly, and not allow for the wave clear of Cloud9 to come in because all they have was a Sivir, and unless the Sivir rotates between turrets, they're not going to wave clear at all.
Yeah, but TSM kind of dropped the ball there with vision control in the jungle and having to reestablish it. Bjergsen got picked off once, and it was like, okay, they have to back off, then they have to come back in and try to reestablish vision. But C9 was just camping brush, waiting for them to come in. And that's the kind of thing that you can't stop the momentum on that team. It's very tempo-based, and once you get off beat, you can't get back in it.
Yeah, I wanted to see a bit more from TSM in the first 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Bjergsen got ahead. He had mid pushed in at all times. And when you have mid pushed in, you can use mid to get vision control, right? He and Santorin can go off. Like, you saw him steal a blue buff early on in the game. You can see him go and ward up the jungle. And they can use this to track Meteos. And they saw Meteos go top lane a lot, and so they pressured bot lane. But they could have pressured bot lane more by tracking Meteos a little bit more here. Crushing the Sivir under her turret, you know, or at least forcing her off sooner. C9 quickly swapped their lanes around. They sent Sivir top lane after a while, but using the Ahri a bit more in the early parts of the game, make a couple more plays, and then C9 can't get into the rotation game.
Cloud9 definitely out for blood here in the first game. They want their title back. We are only just warming up, though. When we come back, Cloud9 and TSM will return to the stage for Game 2 of our championship finals. And as we head to break, we're going to be looking back at the championship battles of yesteryear. We start with the first meeting of these two teams in 2013 Summer Split Finals.
Completely undefeated in the series, 25-3 on the split.
Cloud9 does not drop a single game in the playoffs, and look at that. They are a team that works together and likes each other. That is the best team in North America.